What's going on, everybody? Hey, in this video I'm going to show you how you can buy your very first home and your first investment property all in the same purchase. Let's go. Hey, did you know that 2/3, 66% of Americans own their own home? Which is great. Unless you're part of the other 33% that do what? They rent, right? Why do they rent? That's a great question, right? Like, everyone knows all the cool benefits of owning real estate, right? All the cool benefits, like the house goes up while you're sleeping. You get to pay down a principal rather than paying towards rent that you never ever get back again. And if you have a business, you can depreciate some of the interest or the money if you cash flow the house towards your business, right? And there's also all sorts of other tax advantages as well that go into real estate. So why wouldn't you own real estate when given the choice versus renting? And most people, number one, they don't have the savings. They just don't have enough money to put down to buy a piece of property, right? That's one of the what would be considered the cons of investing in real estate, is that it's a higher barrier to entry, which means you need a little bit more cashola in the bank in order to put it down. And you know that 56% of Americans have less than $5,000 in their bank account. $5,000. That's crazy, right? And here's another crazy part, is that the 33% of those people, they don't have less than $1,000. God damn it, Logan. Alright guys, hey, if you're new here, my name is Logan Manzanares. I am a husband, I'm a father. I've been investing in real estate over the past 4 years. We currently own 10 doors. We have 4 under contract on our path to 100 doors. And so this channel is for anybody who's out there looking to get into real estate, invest in real estate for the sole purpose of freedom, right? The freedom to do what you want with who you want, as much as you want to do it. So that's what this channel is all about. And so if you like what you're hearing, please like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Let's go. Hey, did you know that 2/3, 66% of Americans own their own home? Which is great. Unless you're part of the other 33% that do what? They rent, right? Why do they rent? That's a great question, right? Like, everyone knows all the cool benefits of owning real estate, right? All the cool benefits, like the house goes up while you're sleeping. You get to pay down a principal rather than paying towards rent that you never ever get back again. And if you have a business, you can depreciate some of the interest or the money if you cash flow the house towards your business, right? And there's also all sorts of other tax advantages as well that go into real estate. So why wouldn't you own real estate when given the choice versus renting? And most people, number one, they don't have the savings. They just don't have enough money to put down to buy a piece of property, right? That's one of the what would be considered the cons of investing in real estate, is that it's a higher barrier to entry, which means you need a little bit more cashola in the bank in order to put it down. And you know that 56% of Americans have less than $5,000 in their bank account. $5,000! And a third of that only have $1,000 saved up in their bank account, which is crazy. So how, of course, are you going to put a down payment down on a home when you only have less than $5,000 in your bank account, right? And the average home is $200,000, and you put 10% down. That means you got to figure out how to come up with like $10,000 plus closing costs, which could be another $5,000. So what is a person to do? Well, I'm going to show you exactly what we did and how you can replicate that same thing right now. All right, so let me tell you how we did our very first deal. And so our very first deal we did 4 years ago, and me and my wife did it. And at the time, we didn't have any money, literally like zero money. In fact, I was dumping all the money I had into my business, trying to grow that thing, trying to grow it myself, trying to learn about how to grow this business. My wife had a job where she was an office manager at a dentist's office, and she was taking home enough money to basically pay the bills and have just a little bit left over. But she went into the bank and she asked them what she needed to do in order to qualify. And so they told her exactly what she needed to do, how she needed to raise her credit score, how much money she needed to save down, how much house she could actually purchase. And so she got the blueprint of knowing exactly what her criteria was for the house that she could afford. And so that's what she did. Once she did that, and all of a sudden she started putting offers in on homes that fit her criteria. And when you actually know what you're looking for, then all of a sudden you can start attacking those homes. Well, fortunately, maybe unfortunately, a lot of other people wanted those same homes that she did. And so she was putting offers after offers after offers, and she was getting rejected. Not really rejected, but she was just getting outbid. That was 2017, and there was, man, lots of offers going on in each home. And she got to a point where she got really, really frustrated, right? But she didn't stop. She kept on putting offers in. She kept on doing the do. And then one day, her stepmom reached out to her and said, you know what? I see all the work you're doing. I see you putting all this effort in. You know what? I actually have a condo that I own, and I'm about to have another turnover for renter. What do you think about buying my condo? Because she owned it outright. And we're like, okay, right? And so we sat down with her. I remember sitting down on the couch, me and Katie, and we're talking to her stepmom and her dad, and they were walking us through how this deal was going to work. And we had no idea what anything was. We didn't understand what seller financing was. We didn't understand what interest rate was. We didn't understand a balloon payment. So there's all the things they tried to explain to us what these things were. But anyway, we ended up getting this really cool deal, which we didn't realize until after the fact, that she seller finances this house where we only had to put down $2,000, which honestly that was just like the closing costs. But we got like a 4% interest rate. We had a balloon payment in 8 years, which means in 8 years we had to pay her all the money back. And we got an escrow through like a bank account, so like she was taken care of, we were taken care of, and we actually closed like you would a normal house. And so it turned out to be a really good deal, right? She was getting these payments every single month from us. She still has been, and she's collecting interest on top of it. And she's about to hit a big payday in 8 years when we buy her out of this deal. So it was a huge win-win for her. We got into this deal with literally no money down. And we've since held on that property the last 4 years, and it's been really cool because you know what we did is when we bought our we just bought a house about a year and a half ago, and guess what? We turned that house into a rental property. So that house became not only our first property that we ever bought, seller finance, but now it became a rental as well. And the coolest part about that is that every single month that thing cash flows about $350 to $400 a month. And the coolest part is that we literally put, again, $2,000 into it. And so now almost all the returns on that property are all like infinite returns, which is super, super cool, right? And so that's the first way that we bought our very first property, right? Now you may be like, well, I don't have a stepmom, or I don't have a friend or a family member who own their home who can just sell finance any deal. Okay, I'm gonna tell you how we bought our next property, which again, you totally can do. All right, so now I'm gonna walk you through how we bought our current home that we live in. And so this home, we bought a lot different than we bought our first home. And so this one, we went to the bank, we said, hey, Mr. Banker, we actually have some money. Now, tell us how much home we can qualify for. So they told us how much home we could qualify for, and so we knew what our criteria was. And so we started looking in the market for a home that met our criteria, told our real estate agent, started putting offers in, and then boom, we got an offer accepted. Awesome, right? And so how it all worked. On this property, our payment came from our down payment, which our down payment was only about 10%. So we actually could have done less, and then anytime you do under 20%, you're gonna have what's called PMI. So PMI is basically a mortgage insurance that protects the lender because you're putting down less than the normal, which is 20%. And so it just gets added to your monthly bill. Well, in our case, we actually just paid it all up front. And so along with that, with closing costs, we ended up putting, although it was 10% down, we ended up putting a little bit more down because we had PMI and then of course closing costs at all. And so, but with that property, we got into a $480,000 property, and we only had to put technically $20,000 down plus an extra $5,000 in closing costs, an extra $5,000 in PMI, which was about $30,000 we had to put down on this property that was worth $450,000, which is really cool. And so that's probably more reasonable for people out there rather than having to put down, 20%, which would have been, $60,000, $70,000. And so that's how we got into our current property. And the coolest part about this property specifically was that there was actually a basement apartment with it. And so our whole goal was to have that basement apartment be able to cover some of our mortgage, if not all of it, if we could figure out how to do it. And so that's the kind of mentality that we went into it, and we ended up trying to rent that basement apartment out long term. So we tried to do it long term. We wanted to cover some of our mortgage. Our mortgage is $2,400 ish. And we're like, man, if we could get to $1,600, which means that we were left with like $800 left over, that would be really, really cool. And so we put it on Craigslist, we put it on Zillow, we put it on all the places you could think of to get it long-term rented, and it would not rent. It would not rent. And we're like, man, this is really frustrating. And I looked at Katie and I was like, you know what? Let's try something. Try something different. Let's try to short-term rental this. And like we have some extra furniture. It's not going to cost us a ton to furnish it. Like let's just try it and see how it goes. And so we did that. We decided that we're going to furnish it. And this was about March of 2020. I think March 7th is actually when we got the whole thing on and live and listed. And we had all the pictures taken. We put it on Airbnb. And within the very first day, we got like 6 or 7 bookings. We're like, whoa, this is amazing. This is so cool. And if you guys remember March 2020, that's when everything just went to hell, right? Just went to hell. And literally the day later, that's when the whole thing got shut down. We got in lockdown mode. Everything got stopped. And so did our basement apartment. It got stopped real fast. So all those bookings we had literally 24 hours before were all gone overnight. It was like, oh, that was scary, right? That sucked. But we didn't panic. In fact, we're like, okay, we got to get this thing rented. Now, like we committed because we bought some furniture. We had the thing rented. We had the thing ready to rock and roll. So like we were pot committed. And so we hustled. We put the house on Facebook, we put it on Craigslist, we obviously kept it on Airbnb, then we got it on VRBO, we got it on booking.com, and man, the hustle paid off because almost immediately everything started coming back, and we ended up booking that basement apartment on one of these short-term rental platforms, whether it be Airbnb, booking.com, or whether we did it off Craigslist. We booked that basement apartment every single day from, I think, March 12th all the way till the end of December 31st, 2020, besides 5 days. Besides 5 days, which was crazy. It was amazing, right? And not only did we get our mortgage, like, not covered, but also, well, honestly, we made some money, which is really cool. And so we made way more than $1,600. And so the fact that it didn't rent long-term turned out to be a blessing for us, because now we're commanding a lot more money for that short-term rental in the basement rather than we would a long-term rental. And not only is it like making our mortgage smaller, but actually it covers it, and we're actually cash flowing. We're actually cash flowing our primary residence, which is super cool. And so that's how we bought two properties. Again, one we did owner financing, one we did about 10% down. And so there's two ways to do it. Like, whatever situation you're in, there is a way to do it. And that's what I'm here to share with you, is that there always is a way. And as long as you start to think about how you can do it, then all of a sudden, or you just commit to doing it, then you start to figure out the how later, you will figure it out. And that's the thing I'm here to share with you. So hopefully that really helped you out. Hopefully one of those stories inspired you. If it did, please let me know. Like, comment, share, all this good stuff. Subscribe. I'm going to be dropping more videos, talking about more deals, walking you through different scenarios, and show you how to really get creative in real estate, because ultimately real estate is one of the best games ever, because it becomes something that as long as you can think it, you can imagine it, hey, you can make it happen. So my name is Logan Manzanares. I'm out. Bye.